This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monty Moore with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm Carrie Ann with CMG Financial and My Mortgage Team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com.
Monty.
Carrie Ann, good to see you.
So good to see you.
I'm excited about our guest today.
Yes, tell me.
You know, it's not often we get to have somebody from another real estate company. It's not often that I trust somebody from another real estate company.
This is a big deal. I know.
We had such a good conversation recently that I thought, I'd like to get this man in front of our viewers and listeners and share his heart, because I think it's really a beautiful thing. He's one of these rare individuals that is laying his life down for our industry to make it what it is.
Wow.
John Dotson, thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for the invitation. This is really an honor.
I'm looking forward to hearing about what got you involved in this and why all of this real estate, all of us in the real estate world need to certainly, first of all, honor and respect those who have made that commitment, and then consider getting more involved ourselves. Mm-hmm. And that's why I wanted you to come on and talk. Let's talk about it. Okay. So first of all, you've been in real estate now for how long?
17 years.
17 years, and you're still in it.
Yes.
That's amazing. You should know better than that by now.
Not just in it, but actually making money doing it.
I love it.
Smokes.
Yeah.
It's not just a rumor.
17 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
With a previous career that he shared over 30 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. That makes him 47 years old, doesn't it?
I think, it's amazing to have two full careers. And it was the music industry, right?
Yes. I believe that I'm probably part of the first generation that should not realistically expect that you're going to do one thing your entire career. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I actually have a regular session with MTSU students. I went through the recording industry management program at MTSU, and it's a kind of an informal discussion where we talk about, so what's your second act?
Sure, yeah.
And I think that this is not just a music biz thing. I think this is just kind of where we are in terms of society. And if you realize going in, I'm going to be doing something else, and you know that, it helps you with peace in what you're doing to begin with. And second, you start looking kind of out the side of your eye for something I'm going to do next. And hopefully you use that experience to leverage into something you really enjoy.
Yeah.
What I used to call it as an artist manager was profitable diversions. I would suggest to an artist, maybe you need to buy some cattle or some horses. So when you get off the bus, you've got something to do you care about that depends on you can meet other people. It makes you some money and,
Yeah, that's great.
I think it's great preparation to become a real estate broker, to be in the management business and managing people and all that goes along with that, putting those pieces together and holding those pieces together and
building business. Yeah. That's basically what.
So that's how I got to Nashville through the music business as well. So
really?
Here we are, all three of us.
Yeah. Well, aren't we blessed? I mean, this is such an amazing town that brings us here for certain reasons, you know, and then we're awoken with different outlooks, and real estate being the one that we've all, and the path that we've all shared. So that's exciting.
So John, somewhere along the line, somebody twisted your arm to come to a meeting, or let's talk about how did you get introduced to the working with GNAR, and tell us about that. I mean, was it an aha moment that you saw the value of that opportunity, or was it an aha moment that you realized I need to take some responsibility for my industry and the future of it? Was it just a natural progression from where you came from in the music industry, or tell us a little bit about that?
It's kind of a complicated path. My life partner, Marcia, came here to be a songwriter. And the way that I met her was running a little publishing company. And it just was not working out for her as a songwriter. And one day I said, I think you really would make a great living being in real estate. And I'd learned about real estate being an artist manager because I had been counseling, clients on, the go forward when this is done with, you're going to have some assets that you can count on. And real estate was a really good one. And I'm not sure that from the outside, people realize what a community, particularly the Nashville music industry is, and that the strength within it in terms of its credibility and growth really comes from that community, right?
Sure.
So
absolutely.
Marcia got into real estate. As I mentioned to you, it's a business that you do age out of at a certain point, and I saw that runway coming and got my license and started helping Marcia. We had a Fannie Mae business during the Great Recession, which was a real blessing, I must say. But as I came out of the music business, what I realized was that the strength is in the community. One of the things that I realized in the music business is the business is the constant. The clients are the variable. And it's the same thing in the real estate business.
Right.
You are going to cross paths with other lenders, agents, title companies, et cetera, way faster than you're going to cross paths with the most loyal client. Because if somebody buys a house really frequently, it's every 2 or 3 years. Even if they have a pretty active portfolio in terms of things that they rent, you're still going to be crossing paths with these other people more frequently,
more
right?
frequently, you're absolutely right.
So the center point of that community is Greater Nashville Realtors. And I got involved from the beginning with it. I would say the committee that I have been most active with has been the legislative committee.
So John, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but let's back up just a little bit. So you intentionally, consciously realize that you're going to be rubbing elbows with your peers more often and more regularly than with your best client that you have out there. So you intentionally, consciously decided to be part of that organization of those people most involved in our industry and its future.
Absolutely, because one of the things that I realized in the music business was there's an old saying in the political business, which is make your friends before you need them, right? So in the music business, if you have created a relationship before you're doing business with somebody, it goes a whole lot better. It's the same thing in real estate too. If you go and you meet people and you have some kind of relationship with them, there's always going to be some kind of snag in every single transaction you go through, right? But if you have faith in the person on the other side, I know this person, maybe they didn't be the best self at that moment in time, but I know who they are.
Right.
And I know then how to work around that. At the end of the day, our job as realtors is to get it across the finish line, right? Closing's the ultimate thing.
Yeah, I'd like to pause there just for a second because I hope everybody that's listening really picks up on the value of that concept because
I love that.
So often it seems like, especially with some folks, they think this is an adversarial opportunity. This is let's make the other, just grind the other side or whatever. And it's so important that you enter into this relationship with win-win.
Right.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times obviously on a multiple offer situation where the offer that was chosen wasn't the highest.
Right.
And might not have been the best, but the tour guide, I had confidence in the tour guide. And with that in mind, there have been times where I took a financing offer ahead of a cash offer because the tour guide was confident enough to use a really great realtor, a really great lender. I won't mention any names. It rhymes with Carrie Ann Sear of CMG Financial. But seriously, I had as much confidence in that scenario at being a finance situation versus a cash situation because, that's twofold there. It's yes, I was confident in the lender, but I was confident in the agent because she had that person had the confidence that I did in that lender. And all those kind of things add up, I think.
At the end of the day, real estate is so much more collaborative than it is competitive. I mean, from time to time, we may compete for a listing or a buyer, but my favorite number, 98.6% of the time, we're going to be working with somebody.
Sure.
And the end game is get it across the finish line. So to your point, even if the best offer is not always the most money or exactly what the structure is, it's who's on the other side? Can we get this closed or not? Because that ultimately, that's what our clients count on. Whether you're representing a buyer or a seller, can we get this closed? Because there's a lot of pressure on that closing date.
I've been, as the lender, kind of in between. I've seen both sides, and I've been so surprised in some of the conversations that I've been put in the middle of, where, if we all just stopped yelling, number one, number two, just kind of get along and create a solution versus, the battle back and forth. And I know that you and I want to stand up for our client, and vice versa. But working together, it's a saying I say all the time, together we can help so many, but yeah, that's so true. Like together we need to create the solutions, and not cause the grief. I mean, there's deals that fall apart at the last minute for something so simple, because they didn't follow through with their word per this contract or that, or now it's over $400 or something, so, and not to say so silly, because every dollar is important, but you and I are not losing a transaction over $400. We're finding a solution,
That's right.
over that. So, but then you are on the other side of the spectrum where you see this magic between two very different real estate agents, but they come together with the same outlook, as in we want this to close and cross the finish line. They ask all the right questions. They are talking. The communication is there. You start to see the issues when there's a lack of, that. And so it's amazing when you see something so magical and then you see, the opposite. So it can truly happen. Like you said, I love the collaborative word that you referenced. I think that's instead of being competitive. But yeah, we're all competitive. I mean, that's what makes us get up every day and drive to go help the next client, and that's the excitement too. But there's a way to all work together for sure. I love that.
I don't know if you were on a huddle call the other morning, Carrie Ann, but and I read a letter that came from another company's agent about one of our agents and bragging about what a great experience that was. I read that to our team. We have a Monday morning huddle call. And, I said, I want to challenge all of you. If you've had a great experience, I'm not saying to reward somebody who didn't earn that, but if you had a great experience with an agent, let's look at this example of blessing that agent by, sometimes the only time somebody says something to me, anyhow, as a broker and owner of the company, is when there's a complaint, And that's so often with social media as well. There's no, people don't want to take the time when everything was fine. It's expected. But anyhow, I challenged our agents and I said, look, I know I'm taking a chance that you're going to reach out to a broker to brag about somebody that broker may say, hey, why don't you come work for us? I get that's a chance I'm taking, but I'd love to bless that agent that earned that opportunity for that blessing, and I'd love to bless that broker to hear something positive it's about one of their team members. So anyway, we're on the same path on that. So let's move forward to the you intentionally decided to work with a group of people that are most intimately involved in our industry and the future welfare of this industry.
I did. And I think that we're really fortunate to have an organization like Greater Nashville Realtors here. It's been around since 1898. It's been around for a long time.
Wow.
It's not just about the sense of community, but there's also a really effective sense of governance. If you're a client or any kind of consumer and you've got a problem, you can, with an agent or a lender or anybody else, you can go to Greater Nashville Realtors, and I can promise you they're going to take it very seriously and try to protect you. So the next part of it is that what it does to help create a community. One of the things that we've worked really hard on this year is to create multiple opportunities based on the time that we have, given how crazy the market is, right? One of the things that we've talked about a lot internally is micro opportunities. So as an example, I'm on the legislative committee, I'm on the Habitat for Humanity committee. That's once a month, an hour a month, plus the other activities. So I make time to do that. But we know that there
not a huge commitment, though.
It's not a huge commitment, but again, given how busy it is, some people don't even have that amount of time. So what we've created are micro opportunities where it's maybe 30 minutes a month and there's an opportunity for you to have connection with other people, to contribute ideas that you've got. Because one of the things I think that Greater Nashville Realtor does really well is absorb input from the community so that we can share that as a community of realtors and figure out how to do this the best that we can. So there are multiple ways to get involved. So I'll start with mine. I'm on the legislative committee. I'm on the Habitat for Humanity committee. How many times can you say that? And those are things that really appeal to me. And I think if anybody was looking for why would you choose a committee, find something you're passionate about. Right. Do that, because if you do that, it's not hard. You know, it is 1 hour a month, and I'll take the Habitat is a good example. We have 3 events a year. There in the beginning, we have a Habitat build. Second, in the middle of the summer or toward the end of the summer, we have a Mums sale, which I've just learned this year how important that is. And we also have a golf tournament that benefits Make-A-Wish. So we have all these different things that we do, but it's just those 3 things. So if you can kind of hit the tops of the waves, that's what you do, right? Legislative is a little bit different. The idea of legislative is this is a way to engage with the political and legal challenges that come to us as a community, and it's based on property rights. So that's a pretty broad spectrum right there. We engage really actively, for example, with council, with the state, planning, codes, zoning, and we do represent, to the best of our ability, kind of the center point of what the 6,000 plus members do. And I'd just encourage anybody, if you've got any desire to advocate for your clients, this is a good one. I chose this as opposed to either national or state politics because if you want to add a dadu to your house, or if you want to do something to your house that might not be allowed under the current zoning, guess who you got to know? You need to know your council member. You need to know planning. Right. You need to know zoning. You need to go codes. And if you have, back to my make your friends before you need them thing. Right. If you know those people, before you call on them and say, hey, I've got a client that wants to add a dadu back here. Sometimes it's just having that relationship. So in 24 hours, you can find out there's no way you can build a dadu back there. Let's find something else. Right. Versus let's spend 3 weeks, get the financing and and then it's like, oh, wow, you can't do that.
By then they're more emotionally invested in the whole process. They're frustrated, it drags out,
I think if we do our part right, we're the source of the source. I'm not telling you that I know everything. I don't. I learn something new every single day. But I at least, one of my favorite sayings in real estate is, I know a guy.
Down in this voice,
you got a bathroom problem, you got a this, you got a that. So I know a guy.
And that's what people are paying for. Yeah, absolutely. I
love it.
I know someone at Codes. I can help introduce you to your council member. I've known the mayor. I know this. I know that. I can at least ask the question.
It's funny when you say that, because on the lending side, that's how I am with knowing all people everywhere. This is the person for commercial for that, this is the shack, lender for that, or, it's like, if I can't do it, I don't want to just hand you back and say, so sorry. I want to be able to give you an answer and solve the problem, and being well networked is so key. And you're doing that by being more participating within these organizations and meeting your friends early.
Connectivity. It's about connectivity. That's what we do. We're connective tissue. I know this guy, I know this guy, I know this guy, I know this lender, I know this title company, I know this home inspector, I know this carpenter, I know this plumber.
And that's really one of the most, I think, beneficial ways of building your business is be that go-to person. When anything comes up, not just real estate, but when anything comes up, that they call you. Absolutely. That's what we teach our agents. That's great.
That's so important.
So John,
let me just say this. I had this morning, I had a text exchange with some folks helped buy a house 6 months ago that have a plumbing issue. I was the first person that calls it, we got a plumbing issue. What do we do here? I got a guy.
Yeah. That's empowering.
But when they want to sell that, or somebody they know that's coming to town, who are you going to call?
They got a guy.
And if they're always thinking of you for even those reasons, when the real estate piece comes back, that's key. That is amazing.
So, John, for the person that as you're kind of scratching or bumping against anyhow their conviction of I need to get more involved in my local association, the legislation part is probably a little steep maybe to step into. What would you advise somebody to that's thinking about is it a matter of reaching out and finding out where those needs are, where those vacancies are, or how does somebody really approach the topic? Right.
So at Greater Nashville Realtors, there are committees that do everything from the legislative and the habitat thing to we have a professional development committee which forms new educational opportunities. There's the awards show, which we all lovingly refer to as the Realtor Prom.
Yeah, it's always
the Realtor Prom.
So there are any number of different opportunities. So I guess what I would say to anybody who's thinking about, what do I do here, is I would think about these are the things that I'm passionate about. If I was going to do one thing, I was going to commit 2-3 hours a month to do. This is whatever the passion is. Don't put a label on it. This is just kind of what my passion is. Call Greater Nashville Realtors and say, hey, this is what my passion is. I want to plug in here. I got 2 or 3 hours a month that I can plug into this. Where do I go from here? One of the things that we do on a continuing basis is the Realtor Political Action Committee, RPAC. And through that, we raise money that gives us a voice for realtors. One of the most important things that I think that RPAC has done for us in the past 2 years is, as we were going through the pandemic, RPAC made sure that we were designated as essential workers. So we're
Thank you, RPAC.
Yeah, God bless them. And during that time when some other people had to sit home, most of what we can do sitting at a desk behind a computer, right? But there are certain things like going out and showing a property or like that require us to be physically present, right?
Right.
And because of RPAC, we were able to do that. So it suits our clients' purposes. We're able to serve them, but it keeps us moving. So I would say as a community, if you plugged into that as a realtor, you probably didn't suffer some of the downsides other people did. And that's because RPAC had to go and advocate for us at the national and the state level to get that to happen.
Wow.
And there's some amazing people that are associated with RPAC, that were within our community. They're very, very passionate about the cause, which is so important for this to continue, for the industry.
One person I really want to take my hat off to on this particular issue is Hagen Stone.
He's so good.
Hagen's my broker at Parks in Green Hills, and he has been involved with TAR and NAR for years.
Good man. He's a good man.
He's a good man, and he's personally experienced the benefit of RPAC, which is why he goes out and continues to do what he does.
That's, amazing.
So what other parts can you share, John, that some might be filling in the cracks here for people who are not familiar again with their involvement with GNAR?
Well, first, the committees. That's the easiest way.
You said micro too, which is nice.
Yes.
There's some smaller.
Can you give us an example of that? Another one?
There are a couple of committees that are, and I'm going to be vamping here a little bit. For example, there's some committees that have, shall we say, seasonal needs, like when we do the awards show and those kind of things. They need some more people at that time. So it's not a 12-month commitment, a couple hours a month. And there are other things that are like that. I'm also on the board at Greater Nashville Realtors, so I got started again being on committees and got involved that way. There are 14 board members out of the 6,000 members, so it's really something you got to want to do.
Right.
Wow.
And if you get on the track and you start seeing that, I'll give you a number of examples where people have come onto the board, served on the board, but they have not necessarily gone on to become president or like that of the organization. It's still an important role to play because you can be out and among the members and showing them that you can get involved and you can do more. The payoff for that is the way that you get to know people. When you're sitting in a room with a small group of people, and so you and I, the three of us are on a committee, right? So you're the chairman of this subcommittee, you're chairman of that subcommittee. I'm going to learn something about you as you go through that. If you raise your hand, do you show up? And if you don't, I'm going to remember that when it comes time to do a deal, you know? And so I've learned something, and you've learned something about me as well. It's a two-way street there. So I guess what I would do is I would just, if anybody has a passion, call Greater Nashville Realtors. And if there's something that doesn't immediately appear on the radar screen, suggest it. I mean, I can't tell you how many committees have come into existence in the last 3 years because somebody said, hey, you know what we're not doing?
Wow.
Right. Great idea.
With 6,000 people, we're going to have a hard time finding a way to serve everything. But what we've continued to do for this length of time is continue to evolve. And I can tell you, I have the personal experience of knowing somebody through being on a committee or being on the board, and then I'm doing a deal with them. And it goes so much better.
Right. And I think that's what you referenced at the beginning. That's a really big part of not only serving and giving back, but also making stronger bonds within, you know, and
holding one another accountable. And that's kind of what this whole group does, is hold one another accountable to continue to hold up the bar within the industry.
I'll tell you the most ironic part of that, and we've all been through this. There comes a point where in your mind you realize this isn't going to work. You know, I went through this a lot, particularly in the last 6 months, where there's a crazy number of multiple offers. And So I really came to this place where I was saying to the agent on the other side, somebody would get excited and they make this offer and there's no contingencies and it's $50,000 of it. And then you realize they're getting cold feet. I can't tell you how many times I had the conversation. He said, if they want out, just tell me you want out.
Right.
Let's not loop around with all of these things. It's just, look, if you don't want this, it's going to take it longer to close, right? If you get out, it's the quicker I get it back on the market and find somebody who really wants it. And look, nobody makes an offer on a house they don't want.
Right.
But if you want out, let me know. But you have to have a certain amount of trust with that person on the other side to even say that, because what are we supposed to be doing? Selling, right? No, we're supposed to be closing. The whole thing is get it across the finish line.
That's why I was always so surprised, even to this day, when it comes to the financing piece, right? If they choose to give financing, why that is not as, and not to say that all real estate agents are like this, but take it to another serious level, right? To know, I mean, I see more and more, and I'm very blessed. We've got a 9-year-old in the house here with us today, so I'm blessed that many of those deals fall apart and cross my desk. So I'm able to keep funding the school that she doesn't go to, clearly, for the last 10 days. Too funny. She's still off. That's okay. Well, but what I'm getting at is I'm surprised that happens more and more, right? That we're not following through on the upfront, or there's that missing piece, which I don't want to fix that piece too much, because, you know, one of my biggest opportunities is taking deals that are falling apart and fixing them at the last minute. But how much stress and chaos. I mean, if I was a real estate agent, to know that the goal here is to get it across the finish line, right? And so there's trust in the fact that this little piece of paper that somebody sent you, which has 17,000 disclaimers on the bottom of it, right, that says you're pre-approved. Understand, it's just a piece of paper, you know, like, what do we do to level up there, you know? And you've been in the business 17 years. A few more than that. And you many more than that. But it's funny, back in the day.
The rookie here.
Yeah. Back in the day, though, if we think about even 17 years ago, there was a process that we got away from. Like, there was a whole true process. It was slower, right? And then we had to speed it up, and then it got so fast that everything that we learned and taught and had that structure within the process of making everything go smooth just kind of got thrown out the window, and it just became like that Muppet show, but you know, like throwing everything up, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna grab it here, I'm gonna fix it here, you know, kind of thing. But you know, back in the day, it was get the client truly approved, right? With the capital A and all the things. But hopefully, history does repeat itself. Maybe we'll come full circle with that to bring some more structure and some more confidence, with it all. Because every day another real estate agent is welcomed into our community, which we're happy to have, but also another lender. I'm like, and who are you? And what shiny object do you have? At the end of the day, these are the same products that we have, Yeah,
the cost of money is the cost of money. And if it gets any cheaper than that, then there's a sacrifice somewhere else the consumer is going to end up paying for, and your reputation as a professional is going to end up being affected by that choice, one way or the other. Mm-hmm. All those kind of things.
Yeah, but it goes back to like what you kind of press within GNAR and all these other associations is there's a process to have a smooth real estate transaction. There's a beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
Like you can bring another shiny object to town from a lending standpoint, but at the end of the day, there's still a beginning, middle, end. Like you should get the middle part, or at least the beginning part fixed, and solid versus just another shiny object and we turn our head. And at the end of the day, it's still, is the client truly approved? Will you commit to the closing date of the 15th? And these lenders, you find that some lenders, their shoulders lean over versus back, that confidence, just kind of goes out the door because they're like, well, these 17 disclaimers here tell me that I possibly won't make it, and if I was a real estate agent, I want to know I got more families to help, and you see so many people call on a regular basis, how we doing? That would drive me crazy.
But this is back to exactly what I was saying about knowing your community, and you have the opportunity to get to know somebody, quote unquote, off stage, right? Mm-hmm. So
know your community.
When I tell you, I know plenty of lenders. Oh yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
talk to the hand, But there are a handful that I know. It's like, yeah, we can close.
Yeah,
versus no, we're closing.
Mm-hmm. And you can hear it, you can feel it, you can see it. There's an aura. Yeah,
but if you got to know them to know that. So again, whether it's Greater Nashville Realtors or some other source, all I'm suggesting here is invest in the community. Know your friends before you need them.
Right, I love that.
And so you're doing something with them before you're
build the confidence in your peers before you need the confidence in your peers. I mean, truly, to me, the tour guide of that other side of that transaction means just as much as the qualifications of that buyer as an old-time listing agent, okay? I mean, I'm serious.
And I don't think we can learn it on social media,
Oh, no.
Sunshine and, rose petals and all the things, by working with somebody so close, you're going to see the good, the bad, the ugly, right? And you can appreciate the good, the bad, the ugly, on all the aspects, because you want someone with a little spitfire in them that will fight for both sides, not just against you, to fight for the transaction as much as the opposite. So get involved. That's what we're talking about today.
Whether it's GNAR or any other association, we're here to advocate getting involved. Being the broker of with a couple of offices, we are members of several around. But I've been the longest since I came to Nashville 26 years ago with GNAR, and that's what I feel like is my mother home in that arena. But John, other than just going to GNAR, what do you recommend somebody do that wants to get connected or take the next step and find out what needs are needed there? What openings are needed?
One of the things that is encouraged at Parks, and one of the reasons I went to Parks, was there is this internal motivation to do things outside of what we do. So whether it's Greater Nashville Realtors or WCAR or MTR or any of those things, one of the things that we do at Parks is there are two primary charities that we do a lot of work with. First and foremost is the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is just a wonderful group of people, and what they do is so important. And the second one is Second Harvest Food Bank. So within each office, so Parks is now larger than it was. We've merged with Village and Pilgerton. One of the things that I think Bob Parks has done really well is that he makes each office a reflection of that manager. So if you go to Parks West, it's kind of a reflection of that manager. If you go to Green Hills, you go to Brentwood, wherever it is. So it doesn't feel, it's not U.S. Bank. It's not like interchangeable parts where it all feels the same. You kind of find your place, right? So what you're encouraged to do within each one of those things, I'm coming to a point, believe me. What you're encouraged to do is find something that you're passionate about, and then go get 3 or 4 other people in your office and go do something about it. We're going to be doing a volunteer operation, for example, at Second Harvest Food Bank in December with about 10 of us from the Green Hills office. Is that a thing that all of Parks is doing? No, but other people at Parks are doing. But the point is, the opportunity was given to us so we could go organize these kind of subsets to contribute to things that like that. The Brentwood office works very closely with a number of the schools in Williamson County that, believe it or not, really need food and supplies and one thing and another. As we've had the interruption of education through the pandemic has really enlightened us about the things that kids need on an ongoing basis. And so little subgroups are doing that. So I guess in addition to whatever Greater Nashville Realtors does, that's what I would encourage realtors to do. It doesn't matter how big your office is.
Right.
Find 2 or 3 people. There are a number of things around town that you could go and do. I'm going to speak for myself here. I feel really good when I go down to Second Harvest Food Bank and spend a couple of hours putting food in boxes, going out to people. So I know I've done something that makes a difference. I know that I've brought other people along who feel the same thing. And then I don't even have to share or to see the people with whom we shared that. I just know for myself, with all the blessings I have, I took my time, because that, at the end, a check is a check, but your time is the finite thing.
Right.
Only 24 hours in a day. Right? Only 7 days in a week. It's how you choose to spend your time. And the mental income that I get from those things is so amazing.
I love that.
You're preaching to the choir here, brother. One of the resources of Second Harvest is Feed America First. And Carrie Ann and I both have danced, believe it or not. Well, on my part, it was crazy. But anyway, we both we believed in that. We believe in that organization so much that we contributed to the point of learning how to dance.
Wow, that's
for their biggest charity event, the Dancing with the National.
But I love what you're saying
Stars.
too, where you don't even have to be within your own organization. You know, you can reach out to friends in different groups. And come together and really do so good for the community, because that's who we're serving, right? Not only for the real estate, but overall, just the
brand.
community.
The brand we're coming from is secondary. It's about the heart that's being extended to the people.
And the thing is, particularly and this is cyclical, right? As real estate becomes more successful, we attract more people who want to do it, right? So there's not like a test at the beginning of what is the depth of your soul, right? But at the end of the day, if you're going to be successful in this, there has to be some kind of depth to your soul.
You'll find out shortly if there's not.
Oh yeah, like just like I was saying to these folks that called me this morning about needing a plumber. They felt comfortable enough to call me and ask me something like that. So by all metrics, I'm done. We've closed. I gotten paid.
Sure,
I'm done. Right? But I've made a point of being sure they know if there's something else that comes up I can help you with, call me. If I don't know, I'm the first person to raise my hand and say, I don't know. But I know a guy.
I was going to say,
but you know a guy, and they know a guy. That's the key to it. They know a guy, or they know a gal who knows somebody, and that's the connection that you always want to make. John, it's been a pleasure having you here, sir.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
Absolute pleasure. And so we do encourage everybody, consider contributing to your time and energy and expertise and your heart and your passion towards the GNAR or whatever association you're involved with. It's only as good as its people that surround it and raise it up to the masses. Thank you, John.
Absolutely. Thank you, John. You've been listening to The Talk of Music City Real Estate.